Welcome to another video, A Walk with Phil, and today I'm in Wednesbury, and the reason I'm here in Wednesbury is I want to take you along onto a nostalgic trip to a once fine, much loved bakery called Hickinbottoms. Nothing left really of Hickinbottoms the bakers anymore, but we'll go down to the site of where it used to stand and we'll have a look around and see what memories we can find where the old Hickinbottoms bakery used to be. Well, the Hickinbottoms bakery all started here in Lower High Street in Wednesbury. I'm just here on Russell Street, and so it's going to be very difficult now to determine where the sites of where the old Hickinbottoms used to be, but we'll have a go, because in around 1893 Samuel and Martha Hickinbottom set up their first ever bakery. It was only a little bit of a corner shop. It was a corner of something called Drew's Court and the Lower High Street. Now I'm not exactly sure. Well, I'm not sure at all where that could be. I mean, we're in Lower High Street anyway, but of course all this around here is nothing more than old terraced houses and that back in the day. But I'm guessing that if I go a little bit further down here, we've got an old school to my left, and I believe Samuel and Martha's original Hickinbottom bakery shop would have been around here somewhere. Just around here, I think, where all these new houses are along here. Would have probably been along here somewhere, I believe. Yeah, so I understand the original Hickinbottom shop would have been kind of opposite the school, St John's School. Anyway, he was getting quite successful at baking bread, and Samuel Hickinbottom, who used to work at the Peyton Shaft, began selling bread from a handcart to his ex-workmates from the Peyton Shaft, and he was getting quite a reputation. So he moved his business from around about where I've just showed you to a place just sort of over here at number 59 Lower High Street. Now I think it would have been sort of here. I think it would have been just about here somewhere on 59 Lower High Street. This is where he had a new bakehouse, an oven that was built at the rear of the premises, as well as a stable and for his horse and a covered shed for the cart. I'm not really sure we can see much up there. No, I can't really see much up there. So yeah, it was up there anyway. Well, that's where I believe it to be. But his business began to thrive and continued to grow. He had a very ever-growing list of customers for his bread, and so it was decided that they were going to create a new bakery down Victoria Street in Wednesbury, and this occurred just after the war, maybe around 1919, when he built the new Victoria Street bakery premises along there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over there to Victoria Street and let's have a look, see what we can find down there. So after around 50 years of trading at the Hickinbottom's bakery in Lower High Street, they went on to build bigger and better premises, and it expanded at least 2 or 3 times during its period in Victoria Street. And but it was about 1939 when Samuel Hickinbottom died. He was aged 69, and his sons then began to run the business, who were Joe, Bert and Len. We're on Victoria Street now, and we're going to take a walk along here, and let's see what we can find of Hickinbottoms around these parts. About 1951, Hickinbottoms joined Allied Bakeries, who were the makers of Sunblessed bread. But the Hickinbottom family still held senior positions in the business. In 1961, Samuel Hickinbottom's youngest sons, Bert and Len, died, and so they were replaced then by Joe's son, the eldest son, Michael, and a cousin by the name of Jeffrey. Joe became the managing director in 1939 after the death of his father. It was now called the Hickinbottoms Electric Bakery, which opened fully expanded in 1963, and they were then supplying 30,000 retail customers and 800 wholesale customers. So you can see it was really on the up, and it was employing around 180 people by 1963. Michael Hickinbottom then became the chief executive, while Jeffrey remained in charge of the WEDNESBURY operations along here in Stafford Street. This is the address that Hickinbottoms used. So when Jeffrey retired in 1977, it was not long after when his retirement that Hickinbottoms stopped doing door-to-door deliveries. And but it was just a downward spiral really from that point onwards, and this company here on this site here to my right and to my left all closed down around 1989. A lot of the operations then were transferred to the Allied Bakery division up at Otley Head Road, just off the Birmingham Road opposite the Albion ground. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just here at the top of Stafford Street. This is where all the main operations of Hickinbottoms were happening along here, and I'm going to try and recreate what was Hickinbottoms, which again is difficult because of course things have obviously changed quite a lot. But just here on the left, this is now MECCA Bingo, but all along here right to the bottom of this road would be the actual bakery itself, where the bread was prepared, and it was just around about here, just here where these steps are at the back of Bingo. There was two shuttered red doors that used to be here, if I can remember, and that used to be the entrances to the big wholesale lorries that used to back in there. Next to that would have been the offices, and it would have the name S. Hickinbottoms and Sons signage. That would be just past the two red doors that would have been here for the wholesale lorries to have backed in. Where the blue railings, and if you looked above, there'd be like a bridge of sorts, some kind of conveyor belt operation going on. Not sure what that would have been. But further down, just where I'd say those trees were there, the building also had like a bridged conveyor-like structure to the other side, and that would bring the bread across from the bakers, where the trees, where all the baking was carrying on, was all being made. The bread would come across there into this building here to my right. There'd also be, I believe, just past here where the offices were, it would have been where this sign is here. There'd be another red door that would be like some kind of underground car park or something like that, I believe, a basement car park. Yeah, so that was mainly what this site consisted of. The bakery itself would carry on. It was a big operation back in the 60s, and it would that's where all this car park is here. This would all be Hickinbottom's Bakery, right to the bottom of Stafford Road. Now if we take a look over here, but this was the actual depot where all the vans were stored at night, and they had, I'd say they had a few hundred vans, if I remember rightly. Big areas where they used to have these metal donkeys that you would get the bread. It was all lined up. The bread would come over just here by this shuttered door. There'd be this bridge that would come over, and the bread would be coming over on these on a conveyor. You'd take the trays off the conveyor, load your donkey with the order that you was given, and then when your donkey was completed, fully loaded, you take it to your van. This is still the Hickinbottoms building where all the vans were housed and loaded with all the bread. And all along this road here, I remember vans all parked along here as well, on the side of the road. Now we've got, if I just pan you back up there, there was a door to exit and enter the building there, and another blue door here, shuttered door here for another entrance and exit for vans there. And I presume that blue door is also part of the old building. Yeah, so it was all this was all where all the vans were stored. Now just here to the right, just behind where this telephone pole is, I'm not sure we're going to see much here, but just through here, this is where the vans would be fueled. You'd take your van in there and get it fueled up. It was the petrol garage, if you like. Obviously there's nothing left there of what once was just there. And if I again just take you over here, this is something that many of you may not know, but this is what I was told back in the early 1970s. The building would curve around here, and there was a plaque of a signage of sorts just there where the trees are on the side of the building, explaining when Hickinbottoms was created and from its humble beginnings. And they said behind that plaque was a lot of interesting ephemera relating to the Hickinbottoms family, and I don't know if it was a myth or not, but that I often wondered if that was true. But there was lot of personal information about the family, and their beginning, and other personal effects were hidden inside the brickwork behind the signage. Don't know how true that was. Yeah, but that's it. Now, the reason why I wanted to come back here to Hickinbottoms, because I did have a Saturday job, and I used to live in Alfred Street in West Bromwich, and I'd start out on a Saturday morning about 3 o'clock in the morning and walk all the way down to this site, all the way down the Holloway Bank, and you could smell the bread. Everybody in Wednesbury could smell the bread. Yeah, and I would get in here for 3:30, 4 o'clock. The shutter doors would be open, a lot of activity already going on inside, lots of bread already been baked, all packed up, ready to take your donkey. Your big trolley, it was a big trolley on wheels, but we used to call it a donkey. We'd take you to where all the bread was. We'd stack all the metal trays onto the donkey. There was a list of the bread that you had needed. Your baker your bread rounds person would post it on a board, and you'd take it off and you'd look at it and you'd go over and you'd choose all the bread you needed, and yeah, load your trolley and load your donkey and take it to the van and load your van. But the thing was, if you missed, sometimes you have to wait around for that bread on those trays as it goes along, as it came through down the conveyor belt, and you had to be very quick to get that tray off the conveyor belt, because if you missed it, it would go all the way back to the baker's again on this side of the road, and you'd have to wait for it to come back round again. So you had to be pretty quick. And the van was loaded before the bread delivery person, in my case it was a woman, would come. I think her name was Edna, I'm not sure. Yeah, she was probably only one of the only women drivers in Hickinbottoms at the time, in the early 70s. I don't remember seeing any other women drivers, but yeah, I'd load the van. She was quite happy. She didn't have to do anything. She just turned up about 7 o'clock in the morning, and the van was loaded. and off we'd go. And I'd have a bag of change, my float as we called it, and we'd call on all these houses. My patch was around Pattingham area in Wolverhampton, and I'd also deliver a few shops, and I used to take the trays off the back of the van and struggle over to the shops, and I was even known to pack the shelves as well in the shop. And crazy, but anyway, that's what I did. And also we used to have when we used to call it the residence houses, we'd have we used to get the basket. When you called it houses, you always had to take your delivery to the house in a basket, in a big wicker basket, which we did. And in this wicker basket we'd load up fresh tin loaves, as we call them. And sometimes if we'd forget the basket, we'd have to put our tin loaves along our arm. Well, I did anyway, and then clamber out the van. And yeah, as I was going in at the van, I dropped a tin loaf in the gutter, and the baker, the Edna, would call me in and say, "Come back in the van." So I got back in the van. It was all covered in dirt and mud, and she said, "This is what you do." And she gave me a 10p piece, and you used to scrape all the dirt off the corners of the tin loaf and pop it back on my arm, or even in a basket, if the case may be, and we take it to the house, and the person in the house would be none the wiser. All those little tricks we used to have. And people knew what sort of things we used to get up to. And who remembers if you had a Saturday job, who remembers that little sink in the front of the vans that you'd pull down, this little blue tray, you press a button, and the water that came out was scalding hot. Yes, there was no way you could really wash your hands in it. It was so hot. And I did all that for about, what, £1? There was enough to buy me a bottle of pop and a bag of chips, I think. But I loved it, enjoyed it, my time. I did it for a few months. And the best part was, if you helped out at Christmas, the tips you'd get was fantastic. Yeah, that really made up for the poor money that you was given by your driver. Yeah, so, well, it was good times, funny times, happy times, in a much more innocent age. Okay then, folks, that was our little walk to Hickinbottoms, and as you can see, the one part of Hickinbottoms, well, it still stands in its place where all the vans used to be stored, but sadly the bakery side is now all gone. There's absolutely nothing left of the original bakery here down Stafford Street and Victoria Street. It's long gone now. It was closed in 1989. I think the Hickinbottoms label wasn't produced by Sunblessed. I think they did produce something called Hicks. I do remember that label for a time, but it's sadly, when 1989 when they closed it down, it was the end of an era, and WEDNESBURY and the wider environs lost a much loved bakery and a quality baker at that, because they only ever used high quality products for their bread, and it was renowned for its quality. We'll leave it at that, and if you like the video, hit the like button and hit subscribe, because hitting subscribe is the only way we can keep this channel going, and hitting the subscribe button is really, really much appreciated. And also hit the notification bell for future videos, and I'll see you on the next one.